As the saying goes, if Donald Trump came out in support of oxygen, Democrats would hold their breath. Now, I must admit, the exact same joke is used in the other direction because we live in this weird, wacky world of two separate realities, one movie, one screen, two movies, as Scott Adams says. I always mix that up. Well, here we have something absolutely incredible. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez coming out in support of war? How strange. Yeah, because people don't take positions based off of what they think is right. They take positions based off of what they think their tribe wants. Take a look at this tweet. Actually, before we do, Donald Trump is pulling out several dozen U.S. soldiers from Syria. I don't think we should be the defenders of New Kurdistan, right? The Kurds are there. They helped fight ISIS. I get it. The controversy now is based on Trump abandoning our allies. Okay, well, hold on. We shouldn't have been there in the first place. We're not the world police, and this is complicated. Turkey, as of right now, this big breaking news, Turkey's moving into the northern Syria, and I believe they're now, I don't want to get too much into it, because I don't want to give you faulty details. It's happening as we speak, but military action is beginning. Many people on the left are outraged that Trump would pull U.S. soldiers out of Syria, and it says to me, the reason I think they support Kurds is because the Kurds are very far left. Many Antifa fighters have gone to northern Syria to fight against ISIS. And we've seen many of the Antifa personalities on Twitter take credit for this. Well, Trump is not here to support a new anarcho state or new Kurdistan. America was supporting American interests, and I understand the complication over, U.S. regime change wars, but it all seems like, cheating and using power to get what we want because we can, and I'm not a big fan of that. So here's what Ocasio-Cortez tweets. Trump's sudden withdrawal from northern Syria and endorsement of Turkey's actions could have catastrophic consequences and risk laying the ground for immense violence and suffering. We can pursue a strategy to stop our endless wars without endangering the lives of innocent people. This is hilarious because you can see that she's trying to still maintain her position as anti-war, but she has to oppose Trump. Is it really that hard? I have no problem giving credit to AOC for her when she called out big tech surveillance. I don't care. I'm not on your side or against you, whatever. Just do something good and I'll credit you for it. The same goes for you. The same goes for Trump. I lean a little bit more towards it's probably a good thing Trump did this. We shouldn't be the world police. The whole Syria situation is due to us trying to offset, the Gazprom monopoly. This ties back into Ukraine. It's extremely complicated. And boy, do I not know all the details because they're probably mostly classified. But the U.S. is trying to aid Europe in getting them, cheaper fuels. And that's why, there was an article in The Guardian from 2013 talking about how the U.S. had planned regime change since as early as 2009 in Syria. Very convenient, then, that when the protests erupt, the U.S. sides with the protests. And then eventually ISIS emerges, and that caused a huge problem for everybody. It is a complicated situation. I'm not here to defend, say anybody's right or wrong, but I will say it's very funny that Trump is now saying we shouldn't have done this, bring our troops home, and Cortez has to criticize this. Look, man, there's no perfect move. There's no perfect decision. But what she's saying, make no mistake, is the same argument they use for justifying why we are still in, Afghanistan or Iraq. Oh, we can't just leave. The people, oh no, we can't do it. We must stay there for 20 years. Yeah, that makes no sense, man. I'm really surprised Trump is making moves like this. I think he's listening. Gotta admit, when it comes to the moderates and the former leftists or disaffected leftists who actually oppose war, we're like, good, get the troops out of there. See, here's the thing. Trump simultaneously is pulling out of Syria, and it's very, it's positive for the true anti-war personalities, but you still have him playing up to Saudi Arabia over Yemen and Iran. See, it's not perfect. Trump is not perfect. I'm not going to act like he's doing everything right and give him my support. I like that he's removing several dozen soldiers, U.S. troops from these areas, but that's not the trend when it comes to Iran. Keep that in mind. Also keep in mind that he recently gave a cordial shout out to China amidst the Hong Kong protests. I understand diplomacy is difficult, so I'm not going to fault him too much for that. A lot of people on the left are saying, how dare he praise China? Well, look, man, he's trying to win this fight, and that means he has to play things carefully. I will be critical of that, but I understand it's not the end of the world. It's complicated. Point being, what he's doing in terms of Saudi Arabia, what he's doing in terms of what's going on with Iran and even Yemen, not good. No. But Syria, okay. Hey, I'll give him that one. Why is AOC now coming out with this typical, crony establishment talking point of, we can't just leave without an exit strategy and leave our allies high and dry? That's the same thing I've heard every single year as to why we're still policing the Middle East and Afghanistan and Iraq. And now they're talking about Iran. I don't want that. I don't want that for our country. And this is one of the reasons I really do like Tulsi Gabbard. I'm not going to dedicate too much time to this because you guys know I like talking about this, but she makes a very important point. She did an interview with John Stossel. You see, this is what we need. We need someone like John Stossel, very libertarian, talking with Tulsi about why this matters. And there's one really important point I think everyone will agree with. Okay, except for the war hawks. All of that money we spend on the war machine can be spent on the medicine machine, on the building American infrastructure machine. There's a meme going around among Trump supporters that AOC and the Democrats are more concerned with protecting Syria's northern border than they are with protecting America's southern border. Why do we build infrastructure in foreign countries when we have a Flint water crisis? That's a question I would like answered. And that's one of the reasons I do like Tulsi Gabbard. It's a point she brought up on the Rubin Report. Why can't Flint have clean water? It's like, what, $40 million to refit and fix this? How much do we spend overseas in the past 18 years? $6 trillion? I'm pretty sure we can find 40 million in that number. Newark now, they're talking about bad water. We need our infrastructure here fixed. I get it. It's complicated. It's not perfect. I understand the nuance in the issue is it's not simple. I understand we can't just up and leave for a lot of reasons. Things could descend into chaos. I've heard all the arguments. I'm listening. But when Trump says we're going to bring our troops out of Syria and there's like 50, okay, fine. Can we please spend that money here? For the people suffering here. We've got a homeless crisis in California. This is what's always bothered me about the war machine. The amount of money we spend so we can go off and get cheap gas, which I understand boosts the economy here. But hey, guess what? The U.S. is the biggest producer of fossil fuels right now, isn't it? The last time I checked. So great. We don't need to go over there and change their regimes because we want them to sell to us and we want them to play our game. How about we play the game right? We compete. We build a great economy. We secure our borders. We welcome immigrants and refugees to the extent that we're capable while making this country better. Tulsi Gabbard is talking about these wars. She's criticized Donald Trump over Saudi Arabia. I don't know what she said so far on Syria, but this is the point. This is the reality of what the left was supposed to be about. And now what's really strange is it's the right predominantly saying, go Trump. Now, many people just want to support the president, so they'll agree with him no matter what he does. But I got to admit, check this out. Trump tweeted about it. He said, the United States has spent $8 trillion fighting and policing in the Middle East. Thousands of our great soldiers have died or been badly wounded. Millions of people have died on the other side. Going into the Middle East is the worst decision ever made in the history of our country. We went to war under a false and now disproven premise, weapons of mass destruction. There were none. Now we are slowly and carefully bringing our great soldiers and military home. Our focus is on the big picture. The USA is greater than ever before. Well, I will point this out. When you put out tweets and statements in defense of Saudi Arabia and prepare to send soldiers to Saudi Arabia so you can fight Iran or Yemen or whatever, I'm not going to take your word for it. But this is a correct point. Not that I think he genuinely believes this in the long run, but he's right now. Fine. I won't speculate as to anything else. Maybe we won't do the Saudi Arabia. We'll see what happens. But all I can really say is this right here. Good. He's right. $8 trillion. It was one of the worst. It was the worst decision that made in the history of this country. What was life like before we went to the Middle East and sent all these troops, had all these civilians die, drone bombing? Obama killed several American citizens without charge or trial. This is. I often say this is the issue that I find to be most important. It's what I'm mostly passionate about. It's one of the reasons I like most other things to me, stamp collecting. Okay? If we can stop spending, $8 trillion. So what is that? We're putting in nearly $500 billion. I'm sorry, $500 billion. 8 trillion. Wow. Hundreds of billions of dollars into that. 18 years. Why did we go there? Why? It was a false premise. Get it out. Stop. Bring back to this country. And it's amazing to me. I know there are a lot of Trump supporters who know this. Now, I'm going to be real with you. There's a lot of Trump supporters who just support Trump no matter what he says. I've met them. There's a lot of contrarians, a lot of nihilists, but the reality is Trump wins because he captured those who understand basic arithmetic. How can we rebuild our infrastructure when all of this tax money is being appropriated to foreign country infrastructure? I just don't quite understand. Now, if the government, the militaries want to declassify why we're doing this, sure, go ahead. But you know what, man? We need to take care of our country and stop imposing our will on others. I've never been a big fan of that. And now we have Trump, for whatever reason, saying, let's get our troops out of Syria. Okay, can't argue with that. We shouldn't have been there in the first place. Ron Paul had an interesting statement a long time ago. He said, the argument we have, I'll paraphrase, the argument we have with being in the Middle East is that it's too destructive or too expensive, we can't just leave. And he says, when a doctor prescribes you the wrong medicine, you don't just keep taking it, you have to stop, even if it means withdrawal. Yes. Okay, the night is, the day is always darkest before the dawn. Is that how it goes? The night is always darkest before the dawn? Whatever. It might be bad. Bad things might happen. The Kurds might face serious trouble. But you know what? We can't just be like, oh, well, we're here. We have to stay forever. Because then what are we going to do? Keep cycling out more and more troops and have a permanent presence? I'm just not a fan with that. But I love how AOC, there you go. Autocrats jump. Trump, how high? Trump admin foreign policy 2019. Ha 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 ha. I have spent this whole video talking about Trump, Saudi Arabia, not a good thing. Trump, Syria, pretty much a good thing. Not perfect, I understand. Why is it that I can have the conversation about the nuance in these policies and they can't? Why does it have to be that when Trump says we're going to get our troops out of Syria, all of a sudden AOC is like, no, catastrophic. Yeah. Welcome to the 2000s with the Iraq War, the endless Afghanistan military incursions that we knew were bad. We knew there were no weapons of mass destruction that have cost us trillions of dollars. And then when people are like, can we just stop? They say, well, let me quote AOC for you. This is the same exact argument. And that says to me that she doesn't care. She's a sellout. She's playing, look, she'll dance around the far left identitarian stuff because it panders to the new, younger, Democrat types or whatever. But when it comes to actually standing up for principle, she has none. She doesn't have any. She plays the same silly game where whenever she does something wrong, she goes, it was the right wing. No, I'm not having it, okay? I think Trump is bad character. Fine. I think Saudi Arabia is bad. Absolutely bad. I think North Korea crossing the DMZ was amazing, symbolic, historical, and important. I think what he's doing in Syria, I lean towards good. It's not hard to have a nuanced opinion and not just say Trump good, Trump bad. It can be both. He can be good on some things, bad on the other things. This is why I never want to support anybody. And that's why when Tulsi Gabbard came out in support of impeachment, I don't regret supporting Tulsi. Absolutely not. I absolutely still support her. But that was a big letdown. And with Yang coming out and saying all these disparaging things about Trump being overweight, that was a huge letdown. And so this is why I've always hated putting my weight or anything behind these people. If I came out in support of someone like AOC, and then when it comes to the actual getting our troops out of the Middle East, she does this, I would be embarrassed. I would be embarrassed. Look, Yang saying mean things, I roll my eyes and I say, please don't do that, dude. You're above this. That's why I like you as a candidate, because you've got a comprehensive package of domestic policy positions that I think makes a lot of sense. Not perfect. Tulsi Gabbard, okay, talking about these military incursions, the waste of money, why we shouldn't be there, why we're risking our good men and women's lives. I completely agree. She opposes private prisons and the war on drugs. I'm like, spot on. Supporting the impeachment thing was a mistake. But you know what? Pencils have erasers. We'll see what happens. But I'm not surprised that AOC is a sellout with no principles. Okay? It's not hard. It's such an obvious and generic statement she made. It's just an obvious and generic statement. It is the generic trash I've heard over and over again my whole life. You know, when I was like 16 or 17, I was marching around protesting the war in Iraq. It was ongoing. Civilians were being killed. We were wasting money, and it was all built on a lie. And Trump said this on the debate stage. Remember was it 2015 or 16 I think it was 2015 when he said Jeb Bush, he's like, Bush lied. Yeah. Yes, people heard that. And that's why moderates said, yup, the guy might not have good personality, but he's right about that. So you can talk about all the scandals all day and it's fine, whatever. Okay? There's things to criticize him for and things to give him credit for. This is just the generic talking point. Trump must be wrong no matter what. I'm just so sick of it. No one deserves my support. We'll see what happens. I'm sorry, that's not true. Tulsi Gabbard has remained fairly consistent, and I'll respect that. And I do believe that while I was let down with her coming on the impeachment side, I get it, man. You know, I've had a lot of people say to me, We cannot allow the executive authority to grow unchecked when they do these kinds of things. And I completely agree. And I've said this over and over again, that it's actually, in a sense, a good thing that Trump faces the scrutiny he does, because you have to think about the executive authority that comes after him. We cannot have the executive branch continuing to encroach and expand its powers, which it has done. At the same time, I also have to recognize that they're burning down the castle for the sake of not allowing someone to live in it. It's like, dude, I want to make sure we put pressure on the president, be it Obama or otherwise. That's why if you look at my main channel, I've got videos years ago where I was criticizing Obama's policies and what he was signing. No problem. I have no problem calling people out. So now it's kind of swung too far in the other direction. It's like, come on, man. Can we rally and criticize the president for talking about Saudi Arabia and let the insanity of 3 years of Russiagate, now Ukraine, gate? It's getting too far now to where the plane is, look, you don't want a madman flying the plane, but you also don't want to be standing there wrestling the controls like crazy while the whole thing crashes to the ground. No, let's figure out how to safely land the plane, tell the passengers why this guy's flying like a lunatic, but for the time being, it's almost like there is a fear that these people have that Trump is going to crash the plane, so they decide to grab the controls and shake violently, causing the plane to crash. That's how I feel. It's like, no, chill out, okay? If we see these signs, if he starts jamming the controls into the ground, he's going to crash, fine, I get it. But that's not what we're seeing. At the most, we're seeing him say off-color things and inappropriate things, and that's about it. So, I don't need to rant too much on this one. I got another video coming up at 4 p.m., youtube.com/Timcast. We're going to talk about, man, it was obvious. We talked about it before, but the signs are in. Moderate Democrats are taking a bad backlash over impeachment because the moderates who got voted in did so on the premise that they were going to serve this country and try and mend the divide and campaign on policy. And now they're jumping into the fray of the impeachment nonsense. So criticism all across the board for the impeachment absurdity built upon lies and conjecture and opinion. I don't know what to tell you, man. Stick around. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. youtube.com/Timcast. I will see you all there.